I'm scared that I bring a certain level of drama to his life that I don't mean to bring. It's like my baggage. He could leave me right now, and it's completely out of my control. And that's scary. It was scary back then, and it's still scary now. But he has my heart, and I can't control that.
What? Get out of La La Land, bitch. This is reality.
It's official. Ken Urker is done pretending, and this time he made it crystal clear. After months of Gypsy Rose going back and forth with her ex Ryan, like two people who never got closure, Ken has had enough. He's no longer playing the silent supportive partner. No more fake couple goals, no more public image management. Ken is walking away from the mess, and he wants the world to know it. Let's get into the full story of how Ken is finally freeing himself from Gypsy's chaos. From the very beginning, Ken and Gypsy's relationship always looked and people could tell. Even when they posted cute couple selfies or held hands on Instagram stories, it never truly felt real. The cracks were always showing. There was a weird energy, like they were trying too hard to look happy for the camera. Behind the scenes, they were constantly going to couples therapy and spending way too much time defending themselves online. It was less about love and more about damage control. But one finally tore everything apart: the Ryan scandal. Gypsy's links to her ex, Ryan, didn't just happen overnight. At first, people whispered about it, just rumors. Then the whispers got louder. It became clearer she was still texting Ryan. Then came the selfies. Then the public post. It wasn't hidden anymore. Gypsy tried to act like it wasn't a big deal. She downplayed it like she always does. But Ken, he wasn't having it. He stepped away from her completely. He didn't want to be involved in her mess, so Gypsy tried to cover it up. She posted that she was taking a 30-day social media detox.
See the look on her face when Ken says he doesn't mind going to jail for his kid? Like, she thrives on that type of drama. She liked that Ken was ready to fight, and it's gonna be her and him. Then she goes, I'm Switzerland. You know, because Bella says she's Switzerland between Edward and Jacob in Twilight. Because even though I'm 34 years old, I still think that everything should be like we're 16 and in high school. This fucking fantasy land she lives in. Bella with Edward and Jacob. Like, what? Get out of La La Land, bitch. This is reality.
On the surface, it looked like she just needed a break from the internet, but in reality, it was because Ken wasn't around anymore, and she didn't want people asking questions. The problem is, people already knew. The truth was already out there, and no detox was going to fix that. In a desperate move, Gypsy posted a relationship goal story of her and Ken holding hands. She followed it with a quote about internal love that can't be broken. But Ken had already made up his mind, and this time he wasn't going to argue or explain himself. Instead of replying directly to Gypsy or trying to patch things up, Ken took a completely different route. He reposted a video online, and that video said more than any statement ever could. It was a clip about how hard it is to deal with people who twist the truth, people who never take accountability, and people who always turn things around to make themselves look like the victim. The caption on the video said, I used to have this mental illness where I thought logical arguments would change someone's mind.
I used to have this mental illness where I thought that logical arguments would change someone's mind. Yeah, I really thought if I laid out the facts calmly, clearly, they'd just go, oh wow, you're right. I've completely reevaluated my entire belief system. Thank you, mighty king. No, instead they double down and bring up a Facebook article from 2014 written by someone named Patriot Mama 87. I've learned that some people will just argue with you no matter what, like they're getting paid per brain cell they ignore. You can't hit people with scientific data, 5 peer-reviewed studies, proven evidence, and they'll still say, well, I just feel like, oh, okay, we're going off feelings now. Well, I feel like you're wasting my time. My favorite is when they say something like, agree to disagree. There's no disagreeing about gravity. You're just wrong, and that's okay. It happens. So now I just sip my drink and say true, no matter what they say. Aliens are in Congress? True. The earth is shaped like a Dorito? So true. Trying to talk sense into some people is like trying to reboot a toaster with a software update. It's not equipped for that. It's not happening.
That line hit hard. It wasn't just a joke. It was his truth. And if you thought that might be just a random post, the hashtag told a different story. Hashtag dating, hashtag women, hashtag relationship. Those tags made it clear it wasn't a general advice. It was about his life, his situation, his relationship. Ken didn't mention Gypsy by name, But let's be honest, he didn't have to. Everyone watching knew exactly who he was talking about. It was loud without being loud. He was telling the world in a very calm way that he was tired of fighting, tired of pretending, tired of having the same arguments over and over with someone who never seems to listen or admit when they are wrong. He was done hoping Gypsy would understand him and done trying to fix something she kept breaking. That one repost said it all. He no longer believes that love, effort, or even facts could fix what's broken between them. The post was his quiet goodbye. In a relationship with Gypsy means constant arguments, twisted logic, and emotional exhaustion. What finally pushed Ken over the edge wasn't just the secret texting. It was when Gypsy told him straight up that she wanted to take their daughter Aurora to go meet Ryan. Yes, the same Ryan she had spent months dragging online, the same ex she claimed to be completely done with. Now she wanted to pack up their baby and go meet him? Why? Because Ryan was upset that the first paternity test was done without him being there. He wanted a redo, one he could witness in person, and Gypsy didn't hesitate. She agreed. To Ken, this wasn't just bad judgment, it was betrayal. It was crossing a line that should never have been approached. He didn't just disagree, he was furious. He told Gypsy that if she dared to bring their daughter anywhere near Ryan, he would be done for good. No more warnings, no more waiting. He would move back to Texas and file for full custody of their child.
And let me tell you, Gypsy Rose is playing Ken and Ryan like it's a game of chess, and she's always 3 moves ahead. Okay, so nobody's saying this out loud, but I will. Gypsy Rose is playing Ken and Ryan against each other, and neither one of them see it. One minute, she's loving on Ken and posting TikToks of Ken, and the next minute, she's all up in Ryan's text messages, talking about how Ryan is her comfort. But here's the kicker. Every time she wants something from one of them, she uses the other to get it. Look what you're missing. He treats me better. It's giving emotional chess with 2 human pawns. And before anybody says maybe she's just confused, let's remember, this is the same woman who manipulated doctors, Nicholas Godejohn, and the entire world into believing she was some sick victim for years. Control and emotional leverage were literally her weapons. So now she's just using the same tactics, but this time it's for attention, it's for love, and let's be real, it's for clout. Gypsy Rose knows exactly what she's doing, guys. She keeps Ken close enough to feel needed, and Ryan just far enough to feel guilty.
That was the moment he drew the line in bold and permanent ink. Ken wasn't baffling. That wasn't just some heated argument or empty threat. That was clear, final boundary. He wasn't asking, he wasn't begging, he was done negotiating. It was like Gypsy didn't even realize the seriousness of what she was doing, treating a situation with her ex like it was casual, forgetting that she had a whole partner and a child involved now, and Ken, he wasn't going to sit back and let her play both sides. This time, it really feels like Ken has reached the end of the road. He's already got 1 foot out the door. Even after all the warnings, the drama, the therapy sessions, the hard feelings, Gypsy didn't stop. She didn't even slow down. She kept messaging Ryan like nothing had changed, and these weren't just harmless check-ins or polite conversations. They were actual selfies, photos of herself and their baby girl, Aurora, sent directly to her ex. Intimate, personal moments she chose to share with the same man she claimed to be done with. And the way she did it, so casually, so confidently, like she was updating a long-distance boyfriend. No guilt, no hesitation, not even a hint of concern for how it might make Ken feel, as if Ken didn't exist in the part of her life anymore. That was the moment everything shifted for Ken. He started pulling away, but this time it wasn't just emotional, it was visible, tangible. He disappeared from her posts, no more cute couple pics, no more family of 3 content. He completely vanished from her online life. And instead of confronting her directly or begging for clarity, Ken chose silence, and that silence was loud. He started posting indirect messages, not petty ones but painfully honest ones, videos and quotes about feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally burned out. He let those posts speak for him, and they did, because he didn't pretend anymore. This wasn't just some temporary annoyance, this was humiliation. Ken felt like a fool, a man who had defended Gypsy time and time again, stood by her while the world doubted her, and fought through waves of criticism just to protect her name, only for her to turn around and pour emotional energy into another man. Not just any man, her ex. It wasn't justice, it was betrayal, deep, sharp, and cold. And Ken didn't just feel it, he carried it. That betrayal didn't just make him pull back, it made him reconsider everything. Their relationship has always been, even when they were trying their hardest to make it look picture perfect. Remember last year, right before the baby shower, there were already whispers floating around about a possible breakup. People online could sense something was off. The vibe was weird. The smiles looked staged, the body language felt cold. Then the rumors. It wasn't long before followers began speculating they had quietly split. But instead of addressing it honestly, they did what a lot of couples under public pressure do. They posted photos, carefully posed, overly sweet pictures designed to scream, "We're fine." Even when everything inside was falling apart. Smiles for the camera, coordinated outfits, captions full of heart emojis. But if you look closely, it didn't feel right. The joy wasn't real, it felt forced. Looking back now, that might have been the moment the relationship quietly died, and they were just keeping it alive for show. And let's be honest, Ken didn't stay because he was in love. This wasn't some deep, passionate connection. It wasn't loyalty or even chemistry that kept him around. It was Aurora, their daughter. The little girl became the reason he stayed, not because the relationship made sense, but because he wanted to be present in his child's life. He didn't want to be an absent dad. Gypsy had always made it clear she wanted a baby. That was her goal from the very beginning. And when she finally got pregnant, she stepped into motherhood like it was her new identity. But it didn't automatically make their relationship stronger. If anything, it exposed how weak their foundation was. Ken stepped up to the plate. He didn't just show up for the baby pictures or cute moments. He became a full-time parent overnight. But the truth, the relationship itself was never built on solid ground. There was no real trust, no true emotional intimacy, no shared vision. They weren't growing together, they were simply coexisting. They were staying under the same roof but emotionally indifferent. What held them together wasn't love, it was the responsibility of a child. They weren't in love with each other, they were in survival mode, and it was starting to show. Ken is done arguing, done repeating himself, done bending and twisting to make something work that keeps falling apart. And most of all, he's finally done believing that Gypsy is going to change. That's the deeper meaning behind his post. He is no longer stuck in the cycle where he thinks, maybe if I explain it differently, she'll understand. That phase is over. He's past the hope stage. He's reached the reality check. He's finally seeing things for what they are. With Gypsy, the facts don't matter, clear boundaries don't matter. Every time he's tried to have a real honest conversation, it ends up flipping on him. Twisted into something. Somehow, she always finds a way to make herself the victim, even when she's clearly in the wrong. That's what wore Ken down the most. Not the arguments themselves, but the fact that they went nowhere. There was never a solution, never a resolution. Just endless back and forth that left him feeling unheard and emotionally drained. He now realizes Gypsy doesn't take accountability. She doesn't say sorry unless it helps her image. She doesn't reflect. She doesn't own her part in anything unless it benefits her. And you can't build a future with someone who refuses to admit when they have hurt you. Ken has reached a turning point. That moment where someone stops fantasizing about change and starts preparing for a life without the chaos. And that shift is huge because once you get tired of hoping, you start packing mentally, emotionally, and maybe even physically. And maybe, just maybe, deep down, Ken is also facing a painful truth. That Gypsy never really loved him in the way he needed to be loved. Maybe she loved the idea of him or the convenience of having, but not the way a real partner should. Not with trust, respect, or care. Not in the quiet, consistent way that matters when no one's watching. Ken once shrugged off Gypsy's dramatic meltdown over a hairbrush he had from his ex. Yes, a hairbrush. It wasn't hidden or tucked away like some secret memory. It was just there. A forgotten item in the moving box. Probably not touched in years, but to Gypsy it became a symbol of betrayal. They found it while they were unpacking and completely lost it. She accused him of holding on to the past and emotionally, mentally, and said he must still have feelings for his ex. If he kept something so personal, she spun it into a whole emotional spiral. And how did Ken react? He stayed calm. He didn't match her energy. He didn't argue or try to flip it back on her. He just let it go, trying to maintain peace. He even took it as a moment to reassure her. But even that wasn't enough for Gypsy. She kept pressing, making him feel like he was the one in the wrong for something that didn't even matter. But fast forward to now, and Gypsy's doing the exact thing she accused him of, except worse. She's not just holding onto a physical object. She's holding onto a whole person. She's the one emotionally tied to her ex. She's the one secretly texting Ryan. She's the one sending selfies, keeping him updated like they're still in some kind of romantic loop. And when it all starts to catch up with her, what does she do? She cries. She plays the victim. She posts deep quotes about love, heartbreak, and healing. She disappears from social media as if the silence will make everyone forget what she did. It's all smoke and mirrors. And let's be honest, if this situation were flipped, Gypsy would have ballistic. If Ken had been caught sending cute little updates to his ex, Gypsy would have dragged him all over the internet. There would have been cryptic TikToks, shady posts, and probably even a live where she broke down every single thing he did wrong. She would have made sure everyone knew he was the bad guy. But now that she's the one crossing boundaries, she suddenly wants grace, she wants silence, she wants everyone to look the other way. The double standard is loud. Too loud to ignore, and Ken, he's not falling for the act anymore. He's tired of the performance. He's tired of playing the victim while Gypsy keeps rewriting the script to suit herself, and honestly, neither are we. The audience is watching, and this time, we see it all clearly. Ken has the power to walk away. And with Gypsy's parole coming to an end soon, he doesn't have to stick around. He could leave her, take their daughter, and start afresh. But will he? Or will Gypsy try to use their daughter as an emotional card to keep him around? Flip the narrative and make Ken the villain like she did with Ryan. We've seen Gypsy switch up before. We've seen her rewrite his... Will she do it again? Only time will tell. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is Ken really leaving? Will Gypsy finally take accountability? Or is this just the beginning of another messy chapter? Like and subscribe to stay updated. There is more to come.